Good afternoon, everyone. It's Tuesday, and that means it's time to come online and talk about spinal hygiene today. We are excited to be launching more content online right now. Just as an aside, education is extremely important to our practice here at Holiday Chiropractic. It's essential to patients getting well faster, staying well longer, and certainly never coming back to us in the same predicament that they started with. But beyond that, I think it's part of my mission is to educate people to higher standards of healthcare. And certainly I want people to make better decisions for themselves, for their families. As a chiropractor, there's a very missional sense that the things that I say to people may change the way they think, say, or do. And so today we are talking about spinal hygiene. And I want to begin this dialogue by asking you a question, and that is, what do you do to support your spine outside of our practice? Or if you're not a member of our practice, what do you do to support your spine? Some of you may say, hey, I do Pilates or I do yoga. Maybe some of you engage in various forms of exercise. And that's all wonderful. And so I encourage our patients to, like we talked about last week, to eat well, to think well, to move well. But certainly we want patients to engage in some level of consistent and habitual spinal hygiene. And I love that concept because I take care of a lot of dental hygienists. And every time I think about my experience in a dental office, I primarily think of actually the dental hygienists, because they're the ones that are advising me on where my self-care may be lacking. And I always take that to heart. I change what I do to support better dental hygiene. Likewise, I think that the same goes for chiropractic. It's not just PTs that are recommending specific exercises to support your frame, but chiropractors also engage in the encouragement to do things differently. And not in the same way, perhaps, as a PT does. I refer patients to be seen by PTs oftentimes when it's appropriate. But I'm speaking more in the sense that I am just trying to challenge my patients to think differently. And here's a specific example. Like yesterday, I told a patient, hey, I need you to do these 3 exercises every day, but then beyond that, every time you pull your phone out, I want to challenge you to hold your phone up and realize that there's this little Dr. Eric on the right-hand side of your shoulder just saying, hold your head up, because every time we drop the head more than an inch or 2 forward, we're increasing the weight of the head 10 pounds for every inch, and that leverage really causes lower neck problems and chronic postural problems. So I want patients to think differently. And so for me, spinal hygiene begins with how we think. How we think in the morning is the first thing I really want to bring to your attention. I always encourage patients while they're in bed to first pull their knees to their chest. So you can't see my knee, but certainly doing knee to chest on both sides, and then extending their arms and hands above toward the frame of the bed, and then moving their pelvis side to side, almost like a piston, or their legs up and down like pistons, to get some what we call imbibition or motion in that disc space. That disc space is extremely important to cushion and absorb shock between the vertebrae, just like rock shocks on a bike. And so they're overnight, during the night, the discs kind of refill with fluid. They're composed largely of water content, and it's our job to keep mobility in that disc space. So thinking about the spine, first thing in the morning, you think, what can I do to generate movement? This is also, by the way, why a lot of injuries happen in the morning time, because those discs, maybe we're putting too much load on the discs first thing in the morning. If you are, I've heard everything from women shaving their legs and they're like, oh, I bent down and I couldn't come back up. Or I was doing some deadlifts. That's a very common source of injury. I was doing deadlifts first thing in the morning, and the next day, within the next 24 hours, I could barely walk. So very common things, but we want to think, how do I nurture the discs, right? if I'm flossing the teeth, if I'm brushing the teeth, I know that those are nurturing a healthy sense of my teeth. The same goes with the spine. So that's first thing in the morning. Now, you could also do a modified pigeon pose when you're laying on your back. So kind of bringing your knee up, and I'm going to see if I can modify the position of the phone here. I can do that. So this would be, if you can imagine me laying on my back, the pigeon pose right here would be me bringing my knee to the other knee, pulling that through, and then doing the same thing on the other side. So this is a standing pigeon, but you want to think about how you can do that in the comfort of your bed. And I like that because I want you to think about your spine first thing in the morning. If we make our spine a priority right away, we're already ahead of the game. Just like anything that we tackle and we keep top of mind, it's gonna be patterns that are doable, that are consistent, and I want you to be doing what's digestible. Now, in the evening time, I want you to have another moment where we're coming down from an intense day, we're restoring, we want to think about nurturing our body once again. No matter whether we have a sedentary type of job or whether we have something that's more active, like myself in chiropractic, or whether you're a construction worker or have a scenario where you're moving around a lot, bending, twisting, lifting, all those sorts of things. But regardless, we want to think about how can we nurture our spine. So I recommend moving into a floor routine, prone, and then having maybe some accoutrements like your foam roller, a mat right by your bedside, so that those things are prompts to get you to say, hey, what can I do that's easy, that's right before bedtime, that maybe takes 3 to 5 minutes. So here's a couple things that I'm going to direct you to do, and we're going to just situate that phone right there. All right, pardon the technology here. We're working on bringing you new content, fresh content every week. So the first thing I want to challenge you to do is be on your stomach here and drop the head forward and put your head on your hands and then motion your spine right and left. So that motion right there, again, it re-energizes the disc. It gives it necessary movement. We're taking the spine out of gravity. And then you can, after a couple minutes of that, I would just go into an extension routine here, allowing your neck to experience the extension stretch. Why this is so important is our neck gets blasted during the day with our phones, our technology. We have to spend some time reversing that. So I love to think humorously of that pose we have when we think about talking to a friend, or I think about teenage girls having a conversation like this. I have my kids, when they're on their iPads, I have them lay on their stomach and put it in front instead of dropping their heads. So this is time to restore the curvature of your neck. Your curvature in your neck should be a 40+ degree of curvature if we're going to maintain health in that area. And then you can drop back down and again move that pelvis laterally for a few minutes. From there, we're going to get into all fours. And again, from here you can laterally motion here, or I recommend doing something more active, like dropping back your buttock to your heels and repeating this in a very dynamic fashion, okay? So these things are going to be re-energizing the spine. We want to think about the spine as that which has brought life to our ability to perform various activities during the day. So we've got to put fuel back into it in order to extract back out of it. In some scenarios, it's appropriate for patients to move by crawling and articulating their spine and their extremities back and forth. So doing a little bit of crawling can energize the spine. And then from here, you can do a cat-cow and pull up and move into extension. And those are all going to be very synergistic activities. I also love the bird dog, which is a yoga position in this all fours position. So alternating those positions right there. And then you can finish by doing some foam rolling, or you can or you can get on an exercise ball and bounce for a couple minutes, but just basically things that are just going to help re-energize the spine, put fluid motion back in. The bottom line is that the first things I want you to be thinking about at the beginning and the end of the day is, how have I cared for my spine? Why do we do this? It's because our spine really is the backbone of our health. We think about the fact that you can see on this chart here that outlines everywhere our nerves go and the segment of the spine that they're anchored into. So I want you to challenge yourself in thinking, I don't just care for my spine when something goes wrong, but I want to be proactive in nurturing it, because it supports not only the human frame, the musculature, but it also protects and encapsulates the nerve system. And everywhere your nerves go, the energy flows. And if that energy is not flowing properly, we may experience health challenges associated with poor nerve flow. And if you've never heard our team or myself communicate about the nerve system, that is the premise of chiropractic. We believe the body heals from within, that the body was made to support and nurture itself, to maintain homeostasis. And when the body breaks down because of what we call misalignments or subluxations, that leads to a variety of health challenges, including mechanical dysfunction, neural dysfunction, musculoskeletal dysfunction, and then a variety of other health challenges emerge that eventually lead to what we call pathophysiology. Basically, it's a loss of homeostasis in the body. Chiropractic, listen, it's a lot bigger than just putting the bone back in place, which is really kind of a misunderstanding of what we do. It's much larger. We have a bigger vision for healthcare, and our vision of healthcare is we want to do those things that actually give life to our health. We want to think about how we breathe, how we eat, how we move our body, and the spine is an anchor in that, and the nerve system is an anchor in everything as it relates to that. We want to think of certainly the movie star Christopher Reeves, who when he had an impact, an injury in his head and neck off of a horse, he injured his spine in a way that he lost he was paralyzed from the neck down, and that goes to show that spinal injuries at that extreme level, yes, they may cause paralysis from the neck down, but the reality is that there are a lot of, on the other extreme, there are a lot more subtle influences in the spine that we may not think about how they affect our brain or the rest of our body function, but research continues to emerge about the power of the spine and its relationship to the nerve system. So, listen, I've shared enough today. We will build on this. I do a Spinal Hygiene 102 workshop where we're going to show you a little bit more, but I want to challenge you to take one specific action. Do one thing in the morning, one thing in the evening that's going to actually nurture and support your spine. And maybe you choose one or the other, but that's my challenge to you today, whether you're an existing member of our practice or whether you're just jumping on to hear this content for the first time. We welcome you and look forward to our continuing dialogue. Please also share your feedback. If there's topics you guys want to hear about, we'd love to know that. We do have a published schedule of what content we are going to be delivering, but we are always listening to what it is that people want to hear about, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thanks so much, you guys.